Your homework tonight is to go home and exercise or read a book or talk to your parents or head out and do some volunteer work. Welcome to the Hack Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Barnes, providing right now solutions to some of your biggest teaching and learning problems. Now, let's hack learning. And we're talking about homework again. We're hacking homework, which we often do here at the Hack Learning Podcast. And in the open, I gave a theoretical homework assignment to have kids go home and play outside, exercise, create something, meditate, talk to parents, read a book, volunteer. Well, I didn't say all of those, but you get the idea. It's alternatives to traditional homework, and that's what we're trying to hack here is traditional homework. I vilify homework often on Twitter, on blog posts, on this podcast, on Facebook, in public, and oftentimes I'm greeted with, wait a minute, how can we get our kids to be college and career ready if they don't have homework? Kids need practice. We need to teach them responsibility. And first of all, the traditional homework doesn't help with any of those things. And there's a wealth of research that says that kids don't achieve anymore or learn anymore with traditional homework, workbooks, textbooks, rote memory kinds of things. It doesn't teach responsibility to kids when the teacher has all of the say in what's going on, and there's carrots and sticks. If you don't do the work, you'll get punished. You'll lose a recess. We'll take that away from you, something you enjoy. You'll get a bad grade. None of these things really help with teaching responsibility and getting kids to enjoy learning. But what I never say, and often this point gets lost, is that I never say kids should not work outside of school. In fact, I think it's really important that we continue learning at home, and we should encourage kids to learn at home, to take something outside of class, to make a connection. But there's a lot of great ways to do that. And if kids choose to do it, then they'll certainly become more creative and more interested in learning if they're not worried about carrots and sticks. So this idea about going home and exercising or talking to parents or reading a book comes from a post that I read by Peter Cameron. Peter Cameron is an educator in Canada and a speaker, a blogger, someone who's very active on social media. And he wrote this very inspiring blog post called What If Homework Looked Like This? And he's got a fascinating graphic, and you can see this at our show notes page at hacklearningpodcast.com. So if you go there, you'll see a list of our shows. This episode, I believe, is episode 45, and it's going to be hacking homework again. So you'll see there's a link to Peter's blog, and you really want to check this out. There's a great graphic that Peter Cameron created, and it's on this chalkboard, and at the top it says homework, and then it says do one or more of the following every day for a minimum of 90 minutes. Play outside, exercise, create something, meditate, talk with parents, read a book, volunteer. Let's think about this for a minute. Imagine your student's reaction to homework being to go home and exercise or read a book or play. How about that? Go outside, have fun. I mean, how might they react to that? Yeah, it might be something like this. You have to imagine. But of course, I can hear people saying right now, well, school's not supposed to be about fun. Homework's not about fun. Why not? Why can't learning be fun? And if learning is fun, won't kids want to learn more? But back to Peter Cameron's idea. Imagine that, these are valuable things, first of all. Let's think about this. So exercise. Now, exercise, like homework with kids, often gets a bad name. Often kids think of exercise as something that's really hard and something that's not enjoyable. So here's a teachable moment. It doesn't matter if it's math or science or history or English language arts or foreign language for that matter. But imagine if you were creative enough to work something in from your academic portion of class to exercise. What if we could somehow make that connection? And creative teachers can certainly do this. And then what we're doing is we're sending a message to kids that First of all, exercise isn't work. It can be fun. So think of something we could do outside. And I would love to get your feedback on this. Go to our show notes page at hacklearningpodcast.com. Look for Hacking Homework Again. Go down into our comments section and tell us what are some creative ways that you could connect academics to exercise. And homework could be, let's go exercise. Let's improve our health. Let's teach kids the value of this, for one. The value of health is incredible, and we shouldn't leave it to health and PE teachers to teach our kids about the value of health. So let's connect it to something in our subject area. Think of the other things that Peter Cameron talks about in his blog post. Meditation. This is such an incredible one. I love this. I'm a huge fan of meditation. I think I've mentioned it before in the show, and I've said someday I'm going to do a whole show on meditation. I haven't done it yet, but I do plan on doing that because it's so important. It's such a valuable thing to clear your mind, to think about nothing, if possible. It's very difficult to do if you haven't tried it. Mindfulness, to focus on one task, a single thought, a single activity, and to put all of your thought into that and to reflect upon it. That's a really important thing to teach kids. What if we started that in class and we took a moment and we said, let's just clear our heads. And then maybe we connect it to something that we've done that day. And we say, now let's be mindful of only this. Think of nothing else but this. And then at the end, when you get to that homework piece, we really need to repurpose homework. We have to come up with a different name for it. But if we're saying go home and do something, what if we said go home and continue this mindfulness activity that we started here and focus on this one thing from class? Imagine how kids might internalize it. Peter Cameron also says to talk to parents. Boy, what if we encouraged our kids to talk to parents more often? Just think of how cool that would be. We would be facilitating probably the most important relationship a child can have, and we'd be amplifying that and underscoring it and explaining the value of it. And then again, we can connect it back to learning. See, that's the key. When I say traditional homework doesn't work, when I say we need to stop homework, and believe me, I've said that plenty, and I will continue to say it. We need to stop it. I'm not saying let's stop learning. Peter Cameron's not saying let's stop learning. He's saying let's do it in a different way. And you notice I haven't said anything about grades. And boy, do I have a lot to say about grades and assessment. And imagine if we're sending kids home to do these things and we're not connecting it to a grade. We're not saying your meditation tonight is going to be worth 50 points. And tomorrow when you come in, you're going to get either, some grade out of 50 on your meditation. And if you didn't meditate, we're going to take away recess. We just don't want to do that. Kids will do this. They'll embrace it because it's different from what they know, and kids like different. Go home and meditate, exercise. Maybe connect what you've done in class to some sort of exercise. Go and do that. Talk to parents. Sit down with your parents and talk about what you did in class. Ask them about their own experiences with whatever that lesson or concept or skill that you focused on in class that day is. Ask parents to connect to that. What's their experience? Reflect a little bit. Almost treat it like an interview. Ask questions. The traditional homework model is to send the kids home with workbook pages and then ask the parents to check their work to make sure they've done it. I've been asked by teachers to sign. It's like a contract. To sign and to say, I will make sure that my child does this homework, and I understand that if they don't do this, that there will be some sort of consequence at school. Can you imagine such a thing? Hey, why don't I just tell my kid, school is awful, and learning is terrible, and you're going to hate all of it, because that's really what that does. But Peter Cameron's way is so much different. Wouldn't we love for kids to volunteer, to go out and help people, to be charitable? What if we connect some sort of volunteer activity to in-class work, and we have our kids then go out and volunteer somewhere? And don't attach it to a grade. Don't attach it to, if you don't do this tonight and come in and tell the class about it tomorrow, then there's a punishment. Don't do that. Teach the value of it, and they will do it. So if we're hacking homework again, and someday we'll have an episode called Again and Again and Again, because we're going to continue to talk about this until the traditional homework stops, and that's really my goal. That's the goal of the Hack Learning team. We've got a book coming out on this by some great authors, Star Saxton and Connie Hamilton. It's coming. We need to hack homework. And Peter Cameron's giving us a great way to do it. Let's check out his blog post on the show notes page at hacklearningpodcast.com. Look for Hacking Homework Again. Let's make change. Let's say we're going to go in tomorrow. We're going to ask our kids to read, to talk to parents, to volunteer, to meditate, to do something to make them better, to make them eager to learn, to enhance creativity. There's so much value to this. Let's give it a shot. Let's hack homework. As always, we continue the conversation at #HackLearning on Twitter and on the show notes page at hacklearningpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time. The Hack Learning Podcast is a proud member of the Education Podcast Network. Learn more at hacklearningpodcast.com.